I think, it's just learning how to deal with what the audience is going to give back. You feel pretty good about what you wrote, but you're always unsure about how it communicates, Like, I'm sure you have something similar in life, like when you do a painting or a...
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm like that with everything.
Yeah.
I don't feel sure about anything that I do. I go into stuff not knowing what I'm doing. It's that I just think my art comes about through happy accidents.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Maybe I do have a grand plan that I don't fully pay attention to, but that's what it's like with the creative process. You kind of have a bit of an idea in your head or a sketch, but I don't fully know how the end thing will look, and I don't always feel sure about how it's gonna come about.
Well,
It's a lot of it's still trial and error with me. Is that what it's like with you when you draw?
I think there has to be some. Like, because it has to stay alive, right? So I draft complex plans for a house, and then I build it in a hurricane. So it's like, the weather might blow something interesting into the middle of the house, and I just decide to keep it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, where'd this cow come from?
Yeah. Well, the cows are my favourite bits.
Oh, yeah?
When I chuck something at something and it works.
Right.
Like, it's not something that I've drawn in a detailed way. It's like a splodge of paint that I've put over the top by accident, and it looks really good. Those are my favourite bits in my art.
It's really, your work has a real presence, like even at a show.
Oh,
Like you come by your table, and like even when you're set up minimally, it creates sort of a scene.
Oh, thanks.
And I think it does really like sort of strikes me that you grew up admiring like illustrators that were in your dad's boxing magazines or something, because it does work like a magazine on a shelf.
Yeah.
To some extent, like it draws your eye, and that's the thing that when you walk around a comics convention, not a lot of people do. A lot of things sort of turn into this like Michael Bay Transformer, where you can't, you can't tell what is fucking moving around. It's just a mass of bolts.
I think with my illustration, it's the thing that I hear a lot from people, and it's definitely the way I work. I think because I'm quite an emotional person, there's a lot of emotion in what I draw, and that especially comes out in facial characteristics and looks, and trying a character conveying how they're feeling and what kind of person they are, and that's what interests me with drawing.
Yeah.
But putting that across, and you see it in somebody's eyes and somebody's attitude, and like everything you do on some level is an extension of who you are. Right. If that's creating a business, an event, a piece of art, it's you put yourself across in that, and that's definitely the case with Thought Bubble. It's like being built up through love and nothing, just like sheer love of the medium, and bringing other people on board that love it too. And none of us have ever been event managers, so you kind of make mistakes as you go along. You do really stupid things and things don't work, but I think people like Thought Bubble because they can see the heart in it, and how much we love it, and how much we just try. Despite the mistakes, we try and we learn.
There's
from
something
them,
endearing about people who keep going and like
Yeah.
are aware, self-aware, but committed.
Yeah.
Like we're committed, and we're gonna like move through it, even if it's a little ragged here or there.
Yeah, and we've always been pretty rough around the edges. I mean, I didn't. You don't consciously apply any of those things. It's just who you are and how you learn and how you do stuff. And so the way I do everything is this kind of strange outside the box thinking of just trying to make it work and persevering, and from my point of view, not always doing things right and in the correct way, but caring so much that I think for me it's always about caring about people and and people having a good time and feeling good at something, and you know, especially Thought Bubble, like it would break my heart if any one person came to the show and didn't enjoy it, or just didn't have a good time or had a bad experience. And so you just work extra hard to try and make sure everybody, no matter who they are, exhibitors, guests, attendees, just have the best time they can, and that they feel part of something, they feel part of a community, they feel wanted and like they belong. Yeah. And I think that definitely comes from how my childhood and how I felt, and being a child that had no friends, who was bullied at school, and wanting to belong and wanting to find people like myself. I never had that when I was younger, and Thought Bubble's just this big event where anyone that feels like that can come. I was a proper outcast.
Yeah.
Black sheep. Like, even from, you know, the very beginning, like being, I was an abandoned baby, being put in foster care, adopted, like just never fully feeling like you belong in the place you're in. Like, my adoptive parents were incredible, they were amazing. But you always have this sense of not belonging or being displaced or not knowing where you come from, and that's kind of followed me throughout my life, school and everything. And so you look for the things around you and the things you're interested in to replace certain stuff, and you find your passions and the things you love, and it's always been comics.
Yeah, and then you want to use that, and you want to extend that passion and share it with somebody else.
Yep.
That's what I don't
exactly.
get. Yeah, you want your work to communicate and make someone else feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I get the most excited on a project, is when I get excited about an idea and I just want to share the excitement. It doesn't really, it matters to me that it works, that it has a structure and a form and all that kind of stuff, but I would I would smash the clock. I will happily smash the clock for you to feel 1 ounce of the excitement that I have when I'm excited.
Yep. Everything that we're talking about here is like the basis of any character we love. They have their flaws. Like, Batman's an incredibly troubled vigilante. Same with Spider-Man. All these characters, they're just learning as they go along, and they're
right, and trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why they work.
Yeah.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around people who just want them to win all the time. Because I think that it's the struggle part of it that just makes it interesting.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the Frank Miller thing?
Yeah, because it's out now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It's bonkers. Like, I still don't quite know how it happened. But I think Frank needed a colorist for a project he was working on, and somebody, I don't know who, just showed him just a pool of colorists, and for some reason I was one of those people, even though I've never colored anyone's work. Like, I color my own work, and he was just straight away like, that person, I want that person. And it just came about from that, and it was actually New York Comic Con. I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. He invited me to his studio in Hell's Kitchen, and I met him there, and I just loved him straight away. Obviously, the whole reason I love comics is through Daredevil and the Elektra saga, and so it's all Frank Miller. Elektra lives.
It's interesting that he probably saw in it. I don't think anyone would look at your work and see Frank Miller, right?
Yeah. No, but my work is nothing like his.
Right, you never tried to be that.
No.
But you express your love for it in the creation of your work.
Yeah, I mean, like, growing up, I was like super into Bill Sienkiewicz, Dave McKean, all these like John J. Muff, Kent Williams, all these multimedia sequential storytellers, and that's what's informed my work more than anyone else's. Like, Frank Miller is super confident, beautiful black brush strokes, and that's that's always been something that's completely out of my comfort zone, so I never went down that road. But multimedia things with photo montages and pencils, inks, paints, it's, you know, you can experiment more, you can make more mistakes and rectify them, and Frank's style always seemed a lot harder to me to do, so I think that's why I never went down that road.
Well, I think that you can see though that you have like a boldness in your work still.
Do you think?
Yeah, you use like big shapes and you're not afraid to use a solid, you know, or break a line form, and like that's all stuff that is probably informed by loving someone that has that kind of approach to things.
We're gonna have to go soon, so I'm gonna have to go in and see the guys.
All right. Hey! I'm glad I got to see you. I didn't know you were gonna be here.
I know, we got a lot of stuff.
We did. We got enough that like even if it's not done, it's a great start.
But the walking through the streets talking is definitely the way for me to go, because I wasn't nervous at all.
You're the best.
Oh, thanks, Jason. Thanks.
You are.
Come in and have a drink with us before we go, because we're gonna have to.
Okay.
How can you tell if it's picking up? Has it got a thing? Does it go all crazy? Hello, Jason. Hi. Hello.